Gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the gentlelady from New Jersey, Ms. MacGyver, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member. Mr. Lyons, as the senior official lead in ICE enforcement, much of today's scrutiny falls on you, and it should. We have seen repeatedly that Republicans, Trump administration, its DHS, and your agency will do absolutely anything to avoid answering for your actions. When I showed up to inspect Delaney Hall, a private prison that you contract with, ICE tried not to give us an oversight tour. Then, instead of taking accountability for ICE's attempts to keep us from seeing this facility's conditions to know if people's basic rights were being upheld, this administration is doing all they can to try to put me in prison for 17 years. When ICE shot and killed Renee Good, Kristi Noem called her a domestic terrorist. When Alex Preddy, you all tried to tell us he was threatening officers with a gun, but all we saw was a phone. This administration's clear lies fell apart, not because someone had a come to Jesus moment, but because we saw these murders from every angle. You are only here because public outrage has become so unavoidable. You are here, Mr. Lyons, because white people are getting shot in the face and chest when the cameras are rolling. Because now my Republican colleagues care about optics. But when Keith Porter Jr., a Black American citizen, a son, a father, and a man loved by many was killed by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve, there were no hearings. So this is for him today. In my district, Jean Wilson Brutus, a Haitian immigrant, a beloved family man, died within 24 hours of being in ICE custody. He is just one of more than 30 people who have died in ICE custody last year. This is for all of them. Every human being your rogue, out-of-control agency has hurt, hunted down, imprisoned, killed, and continue to hold hostage even after they have agreed to be deported. We know this administration doesn't care about protecting people or sparing lives. We all see so plainly what you are doing, what you have been doing to Black and brown folks, immigrants, people silenced in the shadows, now in broad daylight to people peacefully rejecting your cruel agenda in the streets, which is their right to do. This is the despicable but predictable result of an agency that laughs at oversight, receives billions to deploy lethal force on our neighborhoods, and seems to believe that they are above the law and should be without accountability. This administration believes it can act first, explain later, or hell, never explain at all, as we see here today. You all seem to think you are the highest power who decides which people deserve dignity, protection, due process, but you are wrong. We are here for answers. We are here for accountability, and we are here because people are dying. Let me repeat that. People are dying, and you don't seem to care. So, Mr. Lyons, I've heard my colleagues ask many questions over and over again, and you cannot answer them. So let me ask you some questions that you may be able to answer. Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not.
Gentlelady,
How many government
The gentlelady will
agencies-
suspend. The
how many-
gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you,
While
Chairman.
vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum and debate. The witnesses are here voluntarily, and I will continue to remind members that while oversight is important, aggressively attacking those witnesses personally is inappropriate and not in keeping with the traditions of our committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question. You guys are always talking about religion here in the Bible. I mean, it's okay for me to ask a question, right? But let me continue on. I got your note.
All right, the gentlelady may resume.
Thank you so much. Let me get back to my question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I appreciate you. How many government agencies, Mr. Lyons, are you aware of that routinely kill American citizens and you still get funding?
Ma'am, I'm not going to entertain that. I'd
Of
much rather
course you're
talk about
not.
the criminal aliens in your
Exactly.
district than
Exactly.
talk
Once
about
again,
that.
questions that you cannot answer. And that is exactly why, Mr. Chairman, and to this committee, to my colleagues, and to my colleagues across the aisle, this is exactly why we should not be funding this agency. The people are watching you. They are watching you. And this is why we need to abolish ICE. With that, I yield back. Thank you kindly.
Gentlelady yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Evans, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, for this important hearing. This past year has been historic for national security thanks to the joint work between the agencies present today and our Republican colleagues. The Big Beautiful Bill unlocked billions of dollars to finally secure the border and deliver much-needed support for law enforcement officials who keep us safe every day, slashing things like the scourge of overdose deaths that claimed approximately 400,000 lives under the previous administration, and this is despite increasing violence against federal officers, which has been inspired by fear-mongering from the Democrats. As a soldier for 12 years, as a cop for 10 years, and as the only Latino in Colorado's delegation, it's been my long-standing position that with a secure border, we must use all available resources to target the worst of the worst, violent offenders like murderers and rapists, and so-called non-violent like drug dealers and thieves and child porn producers. Get the gangsters, not the grandmas. Director Lyons, is ICE's priority the apprehension and removal of criminal non-citizens rather than the broader population of illegally present individuals?
Yes, sir. ICE's continued focus is on the criminal aliens that are in our neighborhoods.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Democrats in my state in Colorado champion soft on crime sanctuary policies at the state level and in cities like Denver, which borders my district. These policies not only impede federal investigations that target cartels, gangbangers, entities like Tren de Aragua, MS-13, the Sinaloa cartel, but they also endanger our communities by releasing dangerous criminals back into the streets who continue to traffic drugs, steal cars, intimidate families, and recruit children. In fact, fentanyl overdose rates in Denver are going up in 2025. It's common sense that when local or state police arrest an individual for a crime, those officers should be able to obtain basic information about the arrestee, and those state and local officers should then be allowed to share information with federal law enforcement to communicate threats, honor detainer requests, and work together to ensure national security and public safety. So, Director Lyons, can you please explain how ICE works around sanctuary policies to go after the worst of the worst? And do these sanctuary policies that release criminals back into the community increase or decrease ICE's presence in the community and the temperature of the interactions that ICE has with the community?
Sir, when we deal with sanctuary jurisdictions, we do have to have more law enforcement officers on the street. Like I said earlier in my testimony, we'd much rather have the chance to take a aggravated felon, repeat DUI offender into custody at a prison, local jail, or some type of lockup environment where it's safer for my officers and for not only the individual, but that community as well. And then given the opportunity to take that person into custody before that person can reoffend. Unfortunately, as a field office director, when I ran the Boston field office, we saw too many times that we placed a detainer on a sexual assault individual who just went out later after the detainer was dropped to rape again. And that is why we need cooperation at all levels, especially the local and state.
Thank you. Director Lyons, my district, 40% Hispanic. It's full of successful business owners and strong immigrant families. Unfortunately, my colleagues across the aisle are fanning the flames of fear for their own political gain in my Hispanic communities, scaring people over events that haven't happened in my district. So I'd like for you for just a brief moment to speak directly to my constituents who are legally present in the U.S., not criminals, but who are fearful of being searched or detained via immigration efforts. Should they fear ICE? And what policies does ICE have to prevent the seizure of people with legal status?
Sir, ICE officers and special agents are trained in the Immigration and Nationality Act. So anyone that is here legally or lawfully or a U.S. citizen should not be concerned about being deported or detained. Unfortunately, many times there are individuals that are with criminal illegal aliens. And sir, as you being a former law enforcement officer, you know, you arrive on a scene, you ID everyone in that case. If we're looking for an individual and someone is here present in the country legally, then we're going to take action. We're not going to turn a blind eye no more. But someone that's in the country lawfully should not feel scared to walk down the street, drive.
Thank
go
you.
to-
Sorry, I got 23 seconds left. Have one thing that I want to ask. As a cop, if I had an arrest warrant, and there's a difference between arrest warrants and search warrants. If I had an arrest warrant for an individual and I thought they were in the house, or if I was assisting social services with a child removal, I still had to have an arrest warrant to go in the house. So I have many questions about the memo saying that you don't need a warrant to go into the house. Will you commit with me at a later date to discuss this?
100%, sir. I would look forward to sitting down and discussing that.
Yield back.